think what's so interesting about it too is like in the functional and integrative space, like there's supposed to be this notion of I'll treat the individual, like have customized stuff. And again, we've talked about it before, like a lot of times things get really cookie cutter and protocol-y and not necessarily individual, but diet's the same way. Like I don't know why there's such a disconnect there where, I mean, most of the people that I talk to, you know, they're working with a practitioner that's like, they do keto or they do paleo and it's like their one go-to. And I find that potentially what's going on there too is, you know, you have people that are MDs. And again, this isn't every case, so I don't want to be too stereotypy, but I find in a lot of cases, there's like MDs that don't necessarily have a deep, thorough knowledge of nutrition, but they know, oh, paleo seems to help a majority, or like a, you know, they feel like they found like some sort of, you know, diet that seems to be helpful or leads to low inflammation. Ugh. I'm not having trouble with my words today. But yeah, so that's the frustrating part is, you know, the idea that you're being treated as the individual, you're having customized care, but I don't see that being the case in the functional integrative space from a dietary standpoint. And there's, I think it's the same thing like that you see with low FODMAP too, when everything just comes down to like, these foods are okay to eat, these foods are bad to eat. The whole composition of the diet doesn't get looked at all. All it comes down to is like, well, are you eating paleo? But there's no look or deeper dive into like, well, what does that mean for that person? Are they eating, you know, enough calories? Are their macros balanced? Are they getting enough fermentable fibers? Like to your point, the person that went vegan, like probably raised their bifido and had different plant foods in there. Like, are they getting enough of them? Are they eating, to the point you were making earlier, like a lot of paleo treats and not getting enough nutrition overall? So I just think like these dogmas, they're so broad. I mean, I work with so many people that are like paleo, keto, all different types, but a lot of times when you're in that mentality, there's still so much nutritional issues that can go on that are being overlooked because they're like, oh, well, if it's paleo, it's good and perfect. Inherently it's perfect. So yeah, it's frustrating to see, and I think in general, I don't want to say in general, the functional medicine integrative, often the functional medicine and integrative space tends to present themselves as they're very nutrition oriented, like diet matters, which I think, again, like that's true. They believe diet matters, but I don't think they give it as much attention and really deep diving into the composition that needs to be done from what I've seen.
The term nutritionism, like this belief that you don't know about nutrition and therefore you need experts like us to teach you about nutrition because it's like this scientific, difficult thing and like normal people can't possibly understand nutrition, so you need to pay us the big bucks to tell you what to eat. And you know, it, not that I like don't want to have a job, but also I feel like most people actually intuitively know what to eat when they get through the layers of bullshit and trauma and dogma and stuff that's been placed upon them over the years of working with practitioners or just being on the internet or being sick.
Right. And I even think like just diet dogma too, like the diet culture and all that stuff. I mean, you grow up hearing like lower calorie. So, and that's from the vein of, I see a lot of undereaters. Like, I think there is like this natural tendency to think, oh, if you're low calorie, that's healthy. Or that you're eating lower calorie foods. And if you then swap to like a whole foods diet, that's usually a higher volume compared to like processed foods. Sometimes people can be under eating because there's been those like diet culture dogma stuff in the mix since they were younger and things like that. So I think you're totally right though. I mean, nutrition, we used to not have like a science of nutrition, you know, like we didn't have dietitians forever. Like what did people do before dietitians? I feel like that is
family.
Right. And I think that one of the funny things about like that you're mentioning Weston A. Price stuff, like, I mean, his research is really interesting, kind of proves that people can have all different varieties of foods that they're eating and still not really have chronic disease as long as the foods are nutrient dense. So it's, you're right. It's been overcomplicated in, you know, trying to sell you certain diets and certain ideas that aren't overly helpful and that kind of, instead of putting faith in your body and how you feel when you're eating a certain way, you put your faith in these diets, and that's kind of hard
or the experts.
Right. It's hard to unwind once you've done that.